start off with this. Contrary to popular thinking, being worthy isn't something that you earn. It's something you recognize in you. And once you do, you won't be able to think, speak, or behave in any other way than as if what you most wanted was meant to be. You were born worthy. Ready to take that on? Breathe it in. I am worthy. So last Sunday I shared with you part 1, since we were getting ready for the 4th of July, a talk entitled The Kingdom of Freedom that we have within. And the kingdom within us means this vast land that we are the king and queen of. We have lots of servants, usually called serfs. So I ask you, and I did this last time, are not each and every one of you a king and a queen? Are not each one of you God and goddess of your own authority? Do you not have authority over your own life? Yes, and all the experiences that you have, that's your kingdom. Everything around you, the experiences, the people in it, is your kingdom. And the serfs that are there to serve you are your thoughts and emotions, because that's what we have that runs our life. So, I mentioned before that one of the definitions of freedom is liberty from undesirable states of being. All those fear thoughts that we have, the emotions that we get in, of anger and fear, whatever that is, undesirable. All of those states that keep us from feeling the truth of who we are, that we should be in present time, which is the oneness with Christ consciousness. That's where we want to be all the time. So to begin to talk, let me go over the steps that I shared last Sunday, just to remind those that were here and those that weren't here to get you caught up. Because I'm going to share 8 steps of Kingdom of Freedom. Number 1, freedom is conscious living, awareness of your being. So what that means is that to be more aware of our life is being aware of our thoughts and our emotions that guide our actions, our thoughts, our words, our actions. It's very important that we get connected to that conscious living, because we a lot of times allow ourselves to be run by old patterns that we've got caught up into, things that we took on in childhood, old pain or unresolved issues that we have within our body. And they kind of run us. And so conscious living means being aware of those patterns. What are things that come up in me that I am in charge of, rather than letting it take me over and just automatically act out of fear or whatever it is that's going on. Those trigger points, or buttons, as I've said before, because buttons are emotional trigger points. And people go around all the time going, well, he or she pushed my button. And I go, no, you did it yourself. We have to remember that, because we react to something, and so we push a button. So in earlier talks, I gave you the definition of being, because that's important. We're not talking about the doing, but more so the being, which is the substance or the essence of an existing person. So for each of you to look at the substance of who you are, the essence of who you are, which is what? Divine, worthy, loving, being of who you are, how you were created. And it makes a difference in our lives, because the more that everything of how we're being affects those around us. And the more that we can get connected to the truth of who we are, the better we are affecting the mass consciousness of the world, because we're all one. We may think we're separate from everybody else or other people in other countries, but we're not. And it's difficult to really grasp that, or grok it. Somebody said that back in the 70s. To really get that in and go, what I think and what I feel and how I act with that affects me and the people around me. So we need to know that we are created in the image and likeness of God. Therefore, Source lives within us and is expressing all the time. So a statement I shared from the spiritual hierarchy says, I am the soul. Everybody repeat, I am the soul.
I am the soul.
I am divine.
I am divine.
I am the mighty, I am presence.
I am the mighty, I am presence.
And I am God's will made manifest on earth.
I am God's will made manifest on earth.
Those are powerful words. And it's time to be aware of them and conscious of them. Maybe say them and begin to live them. So this is the first freedom that we have, to be consciously aware of who we are. Let's start off with that. Secondly, freedom is the ability to see life progressing. Doesn't matter what the past has been. We have to let go of that. Life goes on. But our problem is we get stuck in certain things because we carry an old pattern, like a suitcase around with us with old thoughts and old stuff from the past, and it gets played out in present time moment. Or we look at the future and we go, God, if I just did this, or if this happened, or if these people acted this way, I'd be happier, and maybe something will come to me. So we're stuck in carrying stuff from the past or looking at the future when we should be right here in the moment. Because those problems that we carry around become our stories. Each of us has a story that we tell. So-and-so did this, my childhood was this happened, They're all stories that we carry around within us. And what it does is it puts us in an old prison of our own thinking. We're stuck and caught up in old ways of thinking. So we could look at our life as a workbook of problems to solve. How does that sound? Or we could look at it as a workbook of lessons to learn. Which one gives you more freedom, you think? I would choose the second one. And that's your second freedom. Learn the lessons that come to you and let them go. Don't hang on to them for future. Don't wait for something else. Number 3, freedom is not being afraid to be afraid. So it's okay to be afraid. We have to learn to face the fear that goes on. To be impeccable in our lives is to have a conscious understanding of our fears. Because if we don't, then they take us over and we're acting unconsciously, which is not how we want to be. We want to act consciously in our lives. So we need to know whether the fears that we have are ours or somebody else's that we've taken on or that we've allowed to affect us. And once we do that and become more consciously understanding of it, we can begin to release those fears from the past and step more into our current feelings of the oneness with Source. Since fear is the opposite of love, you want to see the love in the fear. Flip it around. And that may be a hard thing to do sometimes, because when we're caught up in fear, it's like, I don't see love, I'm just scared, I'm afraid of this, or somebody said something, or whatever. But to really love it, we want to embrace it. We don't want to find fault with it, we don't want to judge it. We know it's come from the ego. It's not real. But let's acknowledge it a little bit more, embrace it, feel it, and breathe it out of you. And ask the questions. What could I find of value in this fear that I'm experiencing? What teaching did it bring me? What can I love in the fear? And if you cannot find anything to love in the fear, either you're not ready to face it, or it's not yours. And if it's not yours, you let it go. Wouldn't that be a good thing to know? Oh man, I'm holding on to somebody's fears. So, there's number 3 freedom. Being able to be afraid and then release it. Number 4, freedom is being fully engaged in your life without attachment to things around it. This, of course, means to engage in all the situations of your life that come in moment by moment in your life. To engage in it, to fully feel a part of it without being attached to, oh, I want it to be this way. How about just being in it the moment, being in the relationship, being in the work, being in whatever is going on without expecting something from it. Because when we're expecting something, we put ourselves in a prison in our own mind. And we have an expectation that we're waiting for something, but it's like a cord that we have between us and that other person, or the job, or the money, or whatever it is that we're carrying around with us. And especially in romantic relationships, that happens with people because they carry a cord between them. So the answer to this is what? To be fully engaged in love. That's who we are. That's what God expresses through us, to be love every moment of the day. And then to do from that place. Be love, let God do from a place of love, and then have what we want. Not attached to the outcome. But we have to put our attention into it. We have to put our intention into it. We have to open up our heart to experience love. To focus our thoughts on spiritual Christ and God thoughts, not the fear ones. As I said before, acknowledge the fear, but don't spend a whole lot of time into it. Let it go. And then be connected to your life without attachment. So that's the number 4 freedom. And there's a little prayer of affirmation that goes with this. To everything that has been, I say thanks. To everything that will be, I say yes. And open yourself up for it. So let's continue on with the other points of freedom. Number 5, freedom is consciousness of serenity in all of life's unfolding. have you experienced that? Serenity in life's unfoldment, the experiences that you have been having. Life is either a daring adventure or it's nothing. It's boring. So we are here to experience a life that's full of life, aren't we? To be able to learn and to grow. And it's all about being connected to love. And so, as it teaches in the Course in Miracles that we've talked about here, we can look at our situations in life as either a giving of love or a receiving of love, to really stop ourselves and ask, what needs to happen here? Do I need to give love? Do I need to receive love? Maybe it's a little bit of both. If we knew how to do that, and we practice that daily, every second of the day, every time something happens with relationships or at work or something, to just stop and pause for a moment and go, is this for love? Is this giving of love? Then we would be going on our way to connect to that serenity that I talked about, to feel peaceful inside of ourselves. We wouldn't be criticizing. We wouldn't be finding fault with ourselves or whatever's going on. Rumi, who was a great mystic poet, wrote in this poem called Accept Life's Ups and Downs. You know how it is. Sometimes we plan a trip to one place, but something takes us to another. God fixes a passionate desire in you, and then you're disappointed. God does that 100 times. God breaks the wings of one intention and then gives you another. Cutting the rope of contrivance so that you'll remember your dependence to let go. But sometimes your plans work out. You feel fulfilled and controlled. That's because if you were always failing, you would give up. But remember, it is by the failures that lovers stay aware of how they're loved. Failure is the key to the kingdom within. Life has the pleasures and disappointments, and God is not found exclusively in either one. God is found everywhere. Unquote. So, as in a heartbeat, a contraction gives way to an expansion. Something happens in our heart, in our life, and we learn from it, and we grow and we expand out. And it's coming back in again, growing out. That's what he's talking about. Still, times of failure have a particular impact upon our spiritual lives, which reminds us why we need to connect to God for blessings every moment of the day. To not get hooked up into, I'm a failure. No, it may look like this just failed, but there's something better behind it. There's God waiting for us to open up, to say, here I am. So a question to ask would be, to what degree have I accepted the reality of the presence of God within me? Why don't you all just say that to yourselves right now? To what degree have I accepted the reality of the God presence within me? And see what sort of answer you get. And to look at the places, where in my life do I have serenity? Where do I feel peaceful? Or where are the places that I feel upset and fear and worry? Our new freedom is based upon serenity, inner security, inner peace, not outward power, not the doing part. But if this happens, I'll feel more freedom. But to choose it inside right now and to feel that serenity. That's the fifth aspect of freedom. Number 6, conscious exercise, the opportunity to be the presence of God within, which takes the next step from what I just talked about. We're talking about being. Remember I said that's our substance or our essence of who we are inside. So we're talking about taking a conscious, making a conscious choice in our lives every moment. Being aware of that choice, because it's always about choice. We can either choose to be in fear, or we can choose to be in love and serenity and peace. Which one feels better? Anybody have an answer to that one? So we're talking about fears. What we talked about with fears, if we learn about it and it's ours, we can do something about it. If it's not ours, we let it go. We know that it's come from our ego. We don't want to be run by our ego. We don't want ourselves to be controlled by some concept of self from the ego. We want to go to the self-concept that comes from the I statements that we say. I am powerful. I am loving. I am joy. Rather than I am poor, I am wrong, I'm not good enough. Do you feel the difference between those? The other ones are really negative. And it comes from our relationship fears and belief systems, because we're in a relationship with people all the time, and especially those romantic ones. And maybe we have these ideas that go, oh, men and women are impossible. People take advantage of me. No one listens to me. I can't get what I want. And we run around with that stuff all the time. It doesn't help us connect to Source. Because when the ego buys into that idea, when we say it enough, and it's coming from the ego, it becomes a part of us. And we believe it. And then because we believe it, that's what we create in our lives. The same thing. So we have to change the idea of ourselves. When we do that, then the ego has to be changed. It's like, I'm in charge. I'm the CEO. Ego, you're the secretary. Come along with me. Take notes. I'm going this direction. I am this. I am powerful. I am loving. And then we create a new reality for our lives. So all the time, beloveds, we have the opportunity to surrender ourselves to God within. And we have lots of experiences that gives us the opportunity to do that. It may be a major setback in our life, or it may be a serious illness, or disappointment in finding work or love, or perhaps a marriage that ends in divorce, or a child going through a difficult situation. All of those situations may seem like setbacks to us on this journey of life. Oh my God, this terrible thing happened. But we can look at it and say, this is a moment that I've created for me to go deeper into myself, to go deeper into the presence of God, to let go of the fear, to let go of the judgment, to let go of whatever it is, to really turn inwards to those moments when our lives we can say, I am God. I am love. I am peace. I am free. So our goal, beloved, is to have a bigger vision of who we would be. And once our vision becomes a burning desire, then you choose who you want to be. So it's having this vision, and it's a burning desire with it. It's like what people have said before. If having your connection to God is like having somebody put your head down in the water and you're fighting to breathe, you know, that's how you need to be in your connection with God. That's how strong I want. That's the sixth freedom, the choice of doing your truth. Number 7, freedom is the understanding and conscious use of the laws of being in our universe. So this states that there are a lot of laws in the universe that run it. There have to be. And they have to connect to our state of being. The biggest law that I've talked about is the law of attraction. What does it say? That we will attract to us people, places, and situations that match the vibration of our thoughts and emotions. So there's a huge, wonderful law. It says, I'm attracting to me. So if I'm not happy with what I'm attracting, what do I need to change? Who I'm being. Change my thoughts, change my emotions so that I attract something different to me. Everything is energy. All the thoughts, all the emotions, everything around us. And so there's this attraction. The question then is, are we being in love? Or are we being in fear? If we're being in love, we want to be there. We want to grow it. It fits with all the things that you said. We get to ask the question, am I here out of giving love or receiving love? It fits in with the point around fear. I need to acknowledge my fear and find out if it's mine. And find the love in it and let it go, or let it know that it's somebody else's. So, each one of those thoughts and emotions vibrates at a different level. Fear vibrates like this, and love vibrates like this. So those two won't attract each other, will they? They only attract similar. So if we're having people and situations around us that we're unhappy with, change the thoughts. Let the emotions be felt and released. Another law that fits in with this whole thing is as above, so below. As within is without. Wow. I mean, if you walked around every day and just said that, think about that. As above, so below in me. As within, so without. Boy, this is how my life is. Therefore, I need to change the above, I need to change the within, the below and the out, the without will always change. That means that anything that we think or imagine in our unconscious mind will manifest in our earthly reality. So there's the thoughts. There's the stuff back there that we want to change. And no, there is no separation at all in this universe. We are all one. We are one with the thoughts. We are one with love. We are one with God. We are one with each other. Even if we're in Timbuktu and we're here, we're still one. So There's a lot of other laws of nature. I've given talks about it before, and I'll do some more, but we need to pay attention to them. So the seventh freedom is consciously knowing this truth, that there are laws that guide us, and the biggest one is the law of attraction. Number 8, and the last one, is the freedom to the ability to choose the right path for yourself, to make your life a blessing for yourself and others. How does that sound? To think about, wow, my life is a blessing for myself and others. I follow all of these tools that I've been given. I look at where I'm at inside of myself and to see how worthy I am. And to really feel like instead of I'm little, I'm not good enough, that I am blessed and the people around me are blessed. Isn't that good to feel that? So Buddha taught about the Eightfold Path of Life. And what they are is, first of all, right seed, how we view things. First of all, we plant a seed, which is a thought. Next, we water them, which is feelings. And then we bear the fruit, which is the outcome. So right seed, how we look at it. B, right thought. We need to remove our attachment and be aware of whether we have a pure thought or a Christed thought. Number 3, right speech. Remember the process, thought, word, and deed. What we think, and then we say something, and then we have deed. What words do we use behind the I am statement? We have to be careful of that so that we're not saying things that we're apologizing for ourselves or justifying something that we're doing. Instead of just saying, I am this in this moment. How wonderful it is, and I teach this in my workshops with couples and relationships work, to be able to speak our truth, which is, I feel, I am. However that is, acknowledge it. And if it's not something you want to hold on to, let it go. Right action, number 4, be aware of how we are acting and avoid any hurtful action as a human being towards others. Next, right living. Harmonious life is balanced between the mental, the verbal, the physical acts. Next one, right effort. Take further efforts to follow the way of the Buddha, of the Christ. That is to open up to the truth of God within and follow our intuition, follow what God says to us. Next one, right will. Concentrate deeply. Focus on aiming for your enlightenment, which means growing beyond ego and fear. There's not a lot you need to do steps for enlightenment because it's right now. It means the light within. And the more you connect to enlightenment, let go of your ego and your fear. Connect to your will, which is God's will inside. And lastly, right meditation. Follow all those steps from right seed to right will, and you will attain freedom, total freedom within your body. So, those are the 8 steps, beloveds, to experiencing freedom, all from working within. And so I want you to know that today is a day that you could go out into the world. Be in gratitude for this day of expression and learning. Be in gratitude for another day to experience love and to experience your own freedom, to experience your own kingdom of freedom. Namaste.